Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Current Affairs MCQs. Let's start with previous day's practice question. The question was, consider the following: Iradi Committee 2000, Mitra Committee 2001, Irani Committee 2005. Which of the following fields best matches the above description? Educational reforms, insolvency and bankruptcy reforms, insurance sector reforms, none of the above. The correct answer is option B, insolvency and bankruptcy reforms. Committees related to insolvency, committees such as the Iradi Committee, Mitra Committee, and Irani Committee, recommended adopting the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, Model Law on Cross-Border Insolvency in 1997. The United Nations Commission on International Trade Law plays a key role in developing that framework in pursuit of its mandate to further the progressive harmonization and modernization of the law of international trade. Iradi Committee 2000 recommended amendments to insolvency laws to streamline the corporate insolvency process. Mitra Committee 2001 focused on reforms in insolvency laws and procedures for improving debt recovery. Irani Committee 2005 proposed changes to insolvency laws, especially related to creditor-debtor relationships and corporate restructuring. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Let's begin today's session. The first question is, consider the following statements. 1. She established the first school for girls in 1848 in Pune. 2. In 1863, she, along with her husband, founded Bal Hatya Pratibandha Griha, India's first home to combat female infanticide. 3. She authored two famous works, namely Kavya Phule and Bhavan Kashi Subodh Ratnakar. Which of the following personalities best matches the above description? Pandita Ramabai, Savitribai Phule, Tarabai Shinde, or Sarojini Naidu? The correct answer is option B, Savitribai Phule. Recently, the Prime Minister of India paid tributes to Savitribai Phule on her 193rd birth anniversary on 3rd January 2025. She was born on 3rd January 1831 in Satara, Maharashtra, to a marginalized Mali community. She was married to Jyotiba Phule, who took charge of her education. She established the first school for girls in 1848 in Pune. The couple started and ran 18 schools in total. She started educational trusts like the Native Male School, Pune, and Society for Promoting the Education of Mahar monks to uplift the Dalit community. In 1863, Jyoti Rao and Savitribai founded Bal Hatya Pratibandha Griha, India's first home to combat female infanticide and support pregnant Brahmin widows and rape victims. She authored two famous works, namely Kavya Phule and Bhavan Kashi Subodh Ratnakar, along with the poem Go Get Education. Jyotirao Phule, a 19th century social reformer, critiqued social oppression in his book Gulamgiri and founded the Satyashodak Samaj in 1873 to promote education and equality and abolish untouchability. Hence, option B is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements related to human metapneumovirus. 1. It causes acute respiratory infections similar to flu and COVID-19. 2. It commonly circulates during winter and spring. Which of the above statements is or are correct? Only 1, only 2, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. The correct answer is option C, both 1 and 2. Human metapneumovirus was discovered in 2001 by Dutch researchers. It is a global respiratory pathogen causing acute respiratory infections similar to the flu and COVID-19. Hence, statement 1 is correct. It belongs to the Pneumoviridae family, which also includes viruses like RSV, measles, and mumps. HMPV primarily spreads through close contact or contaminated surfaces and commonly circulates during winter and spring, alongside other infections such as RSV and influenza. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Symptoms typically include cough, fever, sore throat, runny nose and wheezing, which generally resolve within 2 to 5 days. However, children, the elderly and individuals with weakened immune systems face a higher risk of complications like pneumonia. Notably, there is currently no vaccine available for HMPV. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Next, Ornithischia, Sauropodomorpha, and Theropoda, sometimes in news, are related to which of the following? Fossilized prehistoric plants, extinct species of birds, prehistoric amphibians, or major groups of dinosaurs? The correct answer is option D, major groups of dinosaurs. Ornithischia, Sauropodomorpha, and Theropoda are the three major groups of dinosaurs classified based on their physical and dietary traits. Ornithischia includes beaked plant eaters like Stegosaurus and Triceratops. Sauropodomorpha comprises long-necked herbivores like Diplodocus, and Theropoda features carnivorous species like T-Rex and Velociraptor, the latter being ancestors of modern birds. Dinosaurs, prehistoric reptiles that thrived during the Mesozoic era, exhibited immense diversity with sizes ranging from the massive Argentinosaurus to smaller creatures like the bee hummingbird. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements regarding the Braille system. 1. Louis Braille developed the Braille system at the Royal Institute for Blind Youth in Paris, inspired by a night writing system designed for military communication. 2. The Braille system utilizes 12 raised dots in a 3:4 matrix to represent characters and symbols. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. The correct answer is option A, 1 only. Louis Braille was born in France and lost his sight at the age of 3. At the age of 10, he received a scholarship to the Royal Institute for Blind Youth in Paris, where he developed the Braille system after being inspired by an army captain's night writing system. Hence, statement 1 is correct. The Braille system uses 6 raised dots in a 3:2 matrix to form characters, distinguishable by their arrangement. Hence, statement 2 is not correct. Despite the rise of artificial intelligence and voice technologies, Braille remains crucial for independence, especially for those congenitally blind. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, regarding the coffee, consider the following statements. 1. With the arrival of the British in the mid-19th century, commercial coffee farming fully flourished in India. 2. Coffee in India is grown under a canopy of thick natural shade in ecologically sensitive regions of the western and eastern Ghats. Kerala is the largest producer, accounting for about 2/3 of the total coffee production, followed by Karnataka with the remaining share. How many of the statements given above is or are correct? Only 1, only 2, all 3, none. The correct answer is option B, only 2. Coffee was introduced to India during the late 17th century. The Dutch, who occupied much of India throughout the 17th century, helped spread the cultivation of coffee across the country. But it was with the arrival of the British in the mid-19th century that commercial coffee farming fully flourished. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Coffee in India is grown under a canopy of thick natural shade in ecologically sensitive regions of the western and eastern Ghats. Hence, statement 2 is correct. In India, coffee is traditionally grown in the western Ghats, is spread over Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Karnataka is the largest producer, accounting for about 70% of the total coffee production, followed by Kerala at 23%. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Coffee cultivation is also expanding rapidly in the non-traditional areas of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Odisha, as well as in the northeast states. Hence, option D is the correct answer. Next, regarding Sri Narayana Guru, consider the following statements. 1. He advocated for equality, education and social upliftment transcending caste distinctions. 2. His core belief was expressed in the slogan, "One caste, one religion, one God for all." 3. He became a major proponent of Advaita Vedanta, the non-dualistic philosophy introduced by Adi Shankara. How many of the statements given above is or are correct? Only 1, only 2, all 3, none. The correct answer is option C, all 3. Sri Narayana Guru was born on 22nd August 1856 in Chempa Jhanti in Kerala. He belonged to the Ezava caste, considered avarna by the social norms of the time. He advocated for equality, education and social upliftment transcending caste distinctions. Hence, statement 1 is correct. His core belief was expressed in the slogan, "One caste, one religion, one God for all." Hence, statement 2 is correct. He became a major proponent of Advaita Vedanta, the non-dualistic philosophy introduced by Adi Shankara. Hence, statement 3 is correct. He founded the Sri Narayana Dharma Paripalana Yogam, a philanthropic society for uplifting marginalized. Hence, option C is the correct answer. Next, consider the following statements. Statement 1. Under the nutrient-based subsidy regime, fertilizers are provided to the farmers at the subsidized rates based on the nutrients contained in these fertilizers. Statement 2. NBS policy intends to increase the consumption of P&K fertilizers so that the optimum balance of NPK fertilization is achieved. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statements? Both statements are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. Both statements are correct and statement 2 is not the correct explanation for statement 1. The statement 1 is correct but statement 2 is incorrect. The statement 1 is incorrect but statement 2 is correct. The correct answer is option A. Under the NBS regime, fertilizers are provided to the farmers at subsidized rates based on the nutrients contained in these fertilizers. Hence, statement 1 is correct. Also, fertilizers that are fortified with secondary and micronutrients such as molybdenum and zinc are given additional subsidies. The subsidy on P&K fertilizers is announced by the government on an annual basis for each nutrient on a per kg basis, which is determined taking into account the international and domestic prices of P&K fertilizers, exchange rate, inventory level in the country, etc. NBS policy intends to increase the consumption of P&K fertilizers so that the optimum balance of NPK fertilization is achieved. Hence, statement 2 is correct. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are correct and statement 2 is the correct explanation for statement 1. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, Regarding the Parliament, consider the following statements. The summoning of Parliament is specified in Article 85 of the Constitution. The power to convene a session of Parliament is taken by the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, which is formalized by the President. 3. India has a fixed parliamentary calendar as per the provisions mentioned in Article 86 of the Constitution. How many of the statements given above is or are not correct? Only 1, only 2, all 3, none. The correct answer is option A. Only 1. The summoning of Parliament is specified in Article 85 of the Constitution, hence statement 1 is correct. The power to convene a session of Parliament rests with the government. The decision is taken by the Cabinet Committee on Parliamentary Affairs, which is formalized by the President, in whose name MPs are summoned to meet for a reason. Hence, statement 2 is correct. India does not have a fixed parliamentary calendar by convention. Parliament meets for 3 sessions in a year. Hence, statement 3 is not correct. Article 86 of the Indian Constitution gives the President the right to address either House of Parliament or both houses assembled together. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Next, the Global Security Initiative is best described as a UN-led initiative aimed at fostering global disarmament and promoting peaceful resolutions to conflicts worldwide. A framework proposed by China to address global security challenges, emphasizing sovereignty, non-interference, and peaceful dispute resolution. An EU policy focused on creating a unified approach to counterterrorism and cybersecurity in member states. Or a NATO-driven strategy to strengthen collective defense and ensure the safety of its member countries against emerging threats. The correct answer is option B. The Global Security Initiative is a Chinese-led framework that focuses on cooperative security, respect for sovereignty, non-interference in domestic affairs, and peaceful resolution of international disputes. The initiative challenges traditional Western-led security frameworks and advocates for a multipolar world order. Hence, option B is the correct answer. The last question is, the impossible trinity theorem, often seen in the news, is best described as the inability of a country to simultaneously achieve monetary independence, exchange rate stability, and full capital mobility, the inability of 3 countries to achieve economic growth simultaneously, the trade-off between inflation, unemployment, and economic growth in an economy, or a trade-off between fiscal deficit, current account deficit, and external debt sustainability. The correct answer is option A. The impossible trinity or the trilemma refers to the idea that an economy cannot pursue independent monetary policy, maintain a fixed exchange rate, and allow the free flow of capital across its border all at the same time. Hence, option A is the correct answer. Now it's time for the practice question. Consider the following statements. 1. India's general government debt is predominantly dominated in rupees, with external borrowings from bilateral and multilateral sources making only a minor contribution. 2. Domestically issued government bonds are mostly medium to long term with an average maturity of about 12 years. 3. NK Singh Committee suggested using debt as the primary target for fiscal policy. How many of the statements given above is or are not correct? Only 1, only 2, all 3, none. Send the answer to this question in the comment section. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.